Hello there, very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us here on Ideal World. Over the next 60 minutes, we'll be sharing lots of information with you, and we'll be talking about planning for the future. And I'm not talking about planning holidays or weddings, which is always great fun. I'm talking about something that's far more inevitable and far more serious. And unfortunately, a lot of us do fail to plan for the inevitable. Many of us fail to plan for those moments when things go wrong or we become seriously ill. So we'll be talking about protecting what you own for your loved ones, for your family, for the people that will be left behind. The planning crowd will be talking about estate and end-of-life planning, specifically last will and testament, but also about lasting power of attorney. And if at the moment none of this means a great deal to you, then stay with us because we'll go into far more depth and you'll have a really good understanding at the end of this hour. Now, unfortunately, passing away is something that's going to happen to all of us. Like it or not, it will affect all of us. But most of us don't know when. You know, nobody plans to pass away. But of course, there are accidents, we become seriously ill, and it could just happen in the middle of the night. So we never know. And in fact, we always say, oh, it won't happen to me. It won't happen to me. But it happens. So we can't take our health for granted. This is very, very important. And we need to be very certain that we can take care of everyone that is left behind. So tonight we will talk about the lasting power of attorney, and you'll hear us use the term LPA for short. Now, many people know that they should plan for the future. In fact, I'll use my mother as an example. My mum now in her 70s. And in fact, I met the team from the planning crowd a year ago, and I told her about wills and testaments. And she said, oh yeah, I've got to do that, I've got to do that. 1 year has passed. 1 year has passed, and my mum's still saying, I should do that. And in fact, tonight, this is absolutely true. I told her I had this show tonight, and so she said, I'm going to watch and I will take care of it. And ultimately, it's peace of mind for you. So why don't people do it? If it's peace of mind, why don't we do it? And it's because life gets in the way. We often say, oh, it's too complicated. Oh, it's too expensive. It's too upsetting. I have an uncle, he's put it off for years and years and years. Now in his 80s, been putting it off for years. But he knows he needs to do it. For his partner, for his wife, for his kids. And that's really what tonight is all about. So that when the inevitable happens, when your family are in enough pain, you can at least make taking care of business that little bit easier. So stay with us because the planning crowd will help to open your eyes and give you the opportunity to plan ahead and make it as easy, as simple as possible. So let me introduce you to the team from the planning crowd tonight. And I've written down lots of questions that I can ask for you. First of all, let me introduce you to Helen. Helen, thanks for coming in tonight. Really appreciate it.
No
and
problem.
You're Director of Legal Services?
That's right, yes.
Great. And we've also got Ian with us this evening, who you're a director of the company.
I am.
Fantastic. So Ian, before we get going, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about the planning crowd and exactly what they do.
Yeah, happy to. We're a legal services firm. As you mentioned there at the opening of the show, we specialise in end-of-life planning and helping people to protect their assets. But we do have a comprehensive range of services. We also offer a bereavement service at the point of need as well, because quite a lot of people need some practical help at that time. We do court of protection work for those that haven't planned with a lasting power of attorney. Yeah. We also do conveyancing. So it's a range of legal services, but predominantly we specialise in helping people protect their assets and look after the family.
Great. And I hear a lot about trusts at the moment. I wonder if we can elaborate a little bit on those. Maybe you can tell us, Helen, what is trusts are all about?
Yeah, trusts, they are really popular and they are in the press a lot at the moment as well. So a trust is a way of passing assets on to your beneficiaries, but retaining a bit of control over it. So people might know who they want to inherit, but might want to stipulate in what circumstances they inherit. So they might want to stagger their inheritance. And normally it's because they want to protect the assets in some way or because they're concerned about a particularly vulnerable beneficiary. So it's a great way of being able to pass assets on. You can have a trust within your will, or you can create a trust in lifetime. So there's lots of different types of trusts that create different interests for different people. So they are becoming really popular.
Great, and we can talk about those more depth as we make our way through the show. It's also, I think, words that most of us know are probate and bereavement. Maybe you can expand on those a little bit for us.
Yeah, I think people have heard the word probate, but I don't think everyone fully understands what probate is. In fact, I've spoken to some clients who think that by making a will they actually avoid probate, and that's not the case. Probate is basically the legal process by which your estate gets distributed, if you like, and passes on to your beneficiaries. Typically, if you've got an amount over £5,000, you're probably going to have to go through probate. What we do at the Planning Crowd as part of a bereavement service, it isn't just about today and actually making the will. We're there for the family at the point of need as well. So the bereavement service I mentioned earlier, we actually, in a lot of cases, will visit the family and we'll talk them through the practicalities and even, you know, ascertain whether probate is or isn't required.
Right.
And basically help them out at that time, because it can be, you know, making a will is a really selfless thing to do, because it gives me peace of mind that I've done it, but at the same time, it's selfless because I won't be here. It's what I've done for my family.
Yeah, exactly.
But even then, you know, even though you've not made a bad situation worse, they've still got to deal with everything. And so that's where the bereavement service comes in, because we help them do that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I've taken care of it myself. I've got 4 kids, so it's so important. Because again, you never plan for it. You don't think, oh, I'll pass away tomorrow. We don't plan it, do we? But you could be in your car, you could be on a plane on a holiday. You just never know when it may happen. I've got a question for Helen. I guess it's important to understand why the viewers, why they should pick the Planning Crowd to write their will.
Well, first of all, we've been able to put together some really good offers for the Ideal World viewers. So that's a really good reason to take advantage of those. I think the key thing is there is also a lot of talk now about making sure that you use someone to produce your documents that is qualified to do that and got that experience. We've been doing this for a long time. You know, we're members of the Institute of Professional Will Writers. We carry professional indemnity insurance. Our staff are all qualified and trained. We offer such a wide range of services, and like Ian says, we offer a probate and bereavement service. And when we come round to deal with the administration of the estates, we see people who have planned and have got provisions in place.
Yeah.
And how that does help, and it does make a big difference. Yeah. And we also see people where there is no planning in place and the family come to us, they don't know what to do, they don't know where to start, they don't even know what, you know, mum, dad's wishes were, because they've not been documented anywhere. Yeah. And it's so difficult, and it's heartbreaking sometimes to see people in those circumstances. Yeah. And I think our experience in seeing both sides of the coin and knowing what a difference it makes and how good planning can have that effect on the family that you leave behind, I think that puts us in a really good position to be able to advise the viewers on what they need to do.
I think if most people think about it, you know, think about your friends, your family, there's a chance that you know someone that's already been through the pain. You've lost somebody, and then they realise, we don't know what mum and dad wanted. We don't know whether, or maybe there's even somebody they didn't want to get part of the house or some money that was left behind. You know, so there's all these things to consider. Let's just go through some of the services that will be available for you. Now, these deals are exclusive to us here at Ideal World, and we're also going to include FlexiPay. So the 3 main products we're talking about tonight, family and estate will. So we understand a will should be £139. We'll do it for £59. So that's a better than half price deal. And on top of that, we give you 4 flexi payments. So literally £14.75. 4 payments for just £14.75. Just incredible value for money. £80 saving. Then we've got the P&A, and that's property and affairs, lasting power of attorney. Should be £325. We've taken it down to £179. So £146 saving. But of course, we still include the 4 flexis. So 4 for £44.75 tonight. Brilliant, brilliant value for money. And then if you would like to get both services, that's certainly what I would encourage you to do, but the will and the property and affairs LPA, lasting power of attorney, £199. So incredible value for money. Again, way better than half price. £265 is your savings, £49.75 on each of your payments. Now, for those of you saying, I need to take care of this, let's show you how easy this is to do. If you would like to get a call back from the Planning Crowd, just pick up your phone and text the word will, W-I-L-L, W-I-L-L, and text it to 66777. Write that number down, 66777, and the texts are charged at normal rate, and of course the team will call you back shortly. So let's go back to Helen. Helen, if you can tell us about some of the services you've got, because there are a great deal of services available to us.
Yeah, absolutely. So our core business is estate planning, so that involves a number of different services, the core one being the will writing, but also lasting powers of attorney. Yeah. We deal with probate and administration as well, but we also manage a large number of trust funds. We talked about people using trusts for planning and passing assets on. We manage around 350 million in trust assets at the moment. So we look after our clients' funds for them and ensure that their chosen beneficiaries will receive their inheritance according to the wishes of our clients. So it's a really important role for us, and we take it very seriously.
I'm glad to hear that. Ian, I've got a question for you. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about the client care team that are located in Lincoln.
Yeah, well, Helen mentioned earlier about it's really important to use someone that's professional and qualified and has got experience in the will writing sector. Believe it or not, will writing on its own is completely unregulated, so there are people out there who can act as a will writer with no training, no qualifications, no insurance, which is a really worrying thing.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, so it's important you use someone that knows what they're doing effectively, and that's what the client care team is. They've seen every scenario, they're experienced, constantly training as well. We have something called CPD, which is continued professional development, to make sure that we're always providing the best advice and following best practices. So when you speak to those guys, you know that you're going to get the best advice.
Yeah.
And the important thing is, they've come across most situations. So there'll be some people that might think, well, mine's a bit weird and I'm not sure that someone can help me. Well, just have that conversation and let's see if we can help you, because they've seen most scenarios, and it's very, very rare that we can't help someone.
Yeah, so then they're not going to be confused if somebody says, well, we didn't get married, or maybe we're divorced, we've got kids from different parents.
Whatever your situation is, we'll be able to advise on that situation.
Great.
Yeah.
Helen, I've got a question for you, and I think this is a question that a lot of the audience will have in their minds. Who needs a will, and what do they need to do first?
So everyone needs to think about having a will in place. There will be people that are watching today who think, well, actually, I don't own anything, or I are presuming that the rules that happen if they don't have a will actually be what they want to happen.
Right.
They don't understand the consequences of not having that document in place. There'll be people there who, like you said, and you gave the example, that just keep putting it off and putting it off.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to consider this. This is an ideal opportunity. You know, what we really want to do is educate people and make people understand the consequences, and ensure that as many people as possible know what's available and what they should be doing.
Yeah.
As for what they need to do first, they just need to contact us.
Yeah.
It's really simple. Just make the decision to do something really positive today. Take that first step, pick up the phone. The team are absolutely lovely. Ask any questions you've got, but do it today.
Yeah, it's
Make
a
that
chat,
decision.
isn't it? Have a chat, find out a little bit of information. And again, don't think about doing it for yourself. Think about doing it for your friends, your family, the people that you care about, the people that are important to you. I've got another really important question. Again, I wrote a load of questions down before the show. This question is really about why people don't bother. What do you think it is that stops people actually taking care of their will?
I think Helen's touched on a couple of points where perhaps people may think that they might not need one. And it's really interesting, because if you make the decision not to make a will, you're actually making two decisions there, because you are accepting that there's a set of rules called the rules of intestacy that will basically distribute your estate, and it's the same direction for every single UK adult, which can't be right. You know,
Yeah.
you want to take control of your own estate, basically. I don't want an old set of government wills telling me what I have to do with my estate. But I think people do put it off because maybe they think it is going to be complicated, perhaps they think it is going to be expensive. Hopefully we've shown today with these exclusive offers it doesn't have to be expensive at all.
Yeah,
and let's be honest, there's more interesting things to spend your money on, there's sexy things to do with your money than make a will.
Yeah.
But it's interesting as well, because when people ask what I do for a living, so often I'll say I'm a will writer, and they'll actually say, well, is that not morbid? And well, no, because we're not dealing with people that are dying. We're dealing with people today that are alive that are just planning for the future.
Yeah.
And it's such an important thing. And there isn't one client that goes through the process that regrets it, because, you know, it's a big tick in that box. You've done a brilliant thing for your family, but you do have to take that first step.
Yeah.
You know, we've said today that it's an easy thing to keep pushing off. Well, don't push it off any longer. Put that tick in the box and just get the ball rolling. But the first step is to just pick up the phone and make that call.
Just text and they'll call you back, and then you can just have a chat. Just have a chat. Now, I've got a question for you, Ian. We talk about LPA, lasting power of attorney.
Yeah.
How does that get involved with estate planning?
Yeah, again, I think a lot of people have heard of a will, obviously, and they know that a will at some point will be used. You said it at the start of the show that unfortunately it's an inevitability. With a lasting power of attorney, that actually helps look after you and your loved ones whilst you're alive. But if life throws you a curveball, so if, God forbid, you were struck down in an accident or you became ill. Alzheimer's is a really big thing in the press at the moment. You know, we're all living longer, and so we're suffering from these kind of ailments. And if you find yourself in a position where you can't make decisions for yourself, that's where a lasting power of attorney comes in, so that you today, whilst you've got the capacity to do so, can say, if I was in a position where I couldn't make decisions for myself, I would want this person or these people to actually step into my shoes and do it. And it's a hugely powerful and valuable document. Yeah. Touch wood, it's one that hopefully you would never ever need to use, but you'd much rather have it, and your family would much rather you had it than not. Yeah. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Again, your family's going to be in enough pain. This will just help make things a little bit easier. Now, let's just share with you the deals that we've got available today, because these are exclusive and they are extraordinary. First of all, the family and estate will, £139, but not today, not tonight, £59, so an £80 saving. And then we put it onto FlexiPay, as you would expect from Ideal World. So £14.75 is your first payment. £14.75 for complete and utter peace of mind. Then we move on to P&A. Again, this is the Property and Affairs Lasting Power of Attorney. That's £325, but not tonight. £179, so £146 saving. But it goes on to 4 flexi payments. You divide that cost into 4 payments. £44.75 is your first payment. And if you love the idea of doing both and having complete and utter peace of mind, you can get both for a further discount, £464, but a £265 saving, and that's just £49.75 tonight. Incredible value for money. Let's just remind you how easy it is to get the team to call you. Just pick up your phone and text the word WILL, W-I-L-L, to 66777. Write that number down, 66777. You'll just pay for your usual text rate and the team will call you back. It's simple as that. Helen, for anyone that's listening and they've heard us talking about lasting power of attorney or LPA, can you just explain that in a little more detail for us?
Yeah, of course. The lasting power of attorney is the document that officially gives somebody the authority to act on your behalf. So it's you choosing somebody to stand in your shoes and to take over your affairs if you do find yourself in a position where you can't do that. Now, there's 2 types of lasting power of attorney. There's a health and welfare, LPA, and that's the power of attorney that gives someone the authority to make decisions about the medical treatment you receive, where you live, those kind of things. The one we're talking about tonight is the property and affairs, LPA. So that's the one that allows someone to deal with your finances. So all the decisions that you make on a daily basis, paying your bills, speaking to your utility providers, dealing with your banks, claiming benefits, dealing with HMRC, all those kind of things that you would do and take for granted that you're able to do that. If something happens to you and you can't do that for yourself, this document allows someone to do that for you. And we all know how difficult it is. If you try and speak to someone and you've forgotten the password on your account, you can't get through that security check. So if someone else is trying to do that for you, they're not going to be able to deal with anything. This document gives them that authority.
You know, I wonder if you can go a little bit deeper on that. So tell us, why is it important to get this LPA in place? And I guess worst case scenario, what happens if we don't get one in place?
Yeah, well, I mentioned that we are court of protection specialists, and unfortunately that's a route that I don't think any family member would choose to go down. A lasting power of attorney, as Helen said there, is a really, really powerful document, because I think you do take for granted. You wake up in the morning, you throw your quilt cover off and you get on about your day, and you don't think about what it is that you do. But the second that you couldn't do that, you know, all the things that you do, who's going to do those for you? And if you have ever tried to speak to any kind of institution where you're not the account holder, you can forget it. Obviously there's data protection issues, and understandably, if I walked into your bank, Paul, and said, oh, Paul's being incapacitated, I'm here to get some money out, I don't think they'd give it to me.
No.
Yeah,
and you wouldn't want them to,
and I think you'd be a bit miffed if they did. So, you know, I'm stretching a point to make a point. However, if you'd named me as your attorney, I could go in there with the correct authority and say, look, Paul can't deal with matters for himself at the moment, but he asked me to, I've got this power, and they would deal with me as if I was you. It's a massively powerful document. Sadly, if you do lose capacity, it's too late to make it. And then your family have to apply for what's called a deputyship order through the Court of Protection. Now, we help our clients with that. It literally costs thousands of pounds.
Oh my goodness.
Not the hundreds that we're talking tonight.
Yeah.
But worse still, it takes 9 to 12 months still, I think.
Yeah.
It's 9 to 12 months for the whole process. So that's, it's strange because if someone does lose capacity, it's not a bereavement, but the family is still quite distressed and upset by that,
Yeah,
because
imagine.
this person, you know, is
Someone they love.
probably very seriously ill. And so they've got that to deal with, and then they're trying to deal with the courts. And even if they get the deputyship order, they've then still got to deal with the courts because they're supervised by the court.
Yeah.
Whereas if you make that decision today, Paul, I trust you to be my attorney, then there's no question about that. You just go on and act.
Yeah.
And you know that you've picked the right person as
Yeah.
well.
In fact, I've just my uncle's just asked me to be the power of attorney for himself, so I totally understand. Listen, if
Does
any
he
of
not
this
know
resonates,
anyone else?
What's that?
Does he not know anyone else trustworthy?
Cheeky, cheeky. Listen, if any of this resonates with you and you're thinking, I should take care of it, and maybe you have been saying that for months, maybe even years, then let's give you the opportunity to text the team right now and get a call back. Take care of it today. Feel better about everything so you know what's going to happen in the future. Text the word WILL to 66777. Get that team to call you back. You've got a great opportunity here. In fact, let's just share with you testimonials so you can hear what some of our former customers have already said. This first one comes from Mrs. Howell, who's in London. Said, I watched the planning crowd on Ideal World and thought that the will and lasting power of attorney were both explained well. We've got to agree with that. As it all sounded straightforward, I decided to make the call there and then and took advantage of the offer. I found the whole process very easy, and Sarah even knows the person's name that she was talking to, and Sarah was very helpful during my telephone consultation. After speaking with my chosen attorney, I did have some further questions, and these were all answered promptly and completely. I would recommend anyone considering putting their affairs in order to speak with the planning crowd. And I think it's clear, just reading through that it's important to plan ahead.
Yeah, hearing things like that obviously makes us quite proud. You know, this is a nice, it's a nice profession to be in because you know that you're helping people. Without wanting to sound too crass, we know that when we've done a will for somebody, that's going to help them. We know that when we've put a lasting power of attorney in place, that's going to help them. And Helen said earlier about the two sides of the coin. We really do in our offices every day. You know, we've got over 100,000 clients, so people are passing away. We get new clients, so that, you know, there's a constant stream of clients goes through the office. We do see both sides of the coin. We get clients that we've helped who phone up and say a family member's passed away and they've got no plans in place. And sadly, it's one of the biggest reasons, you know, for breakdowns in relationships in families because someone hasn't documented the wishes. And quite often you'll have, you know, well, my dad said he wanted this, no, my dad said he wanted that, and then you hear about, you know, brothers, sisters, whatever, not talking for literally decades, all following a bereavement, and that happens all too often. So this coin that we talk about, you would definitely want to be on the side that's planned, because it doesn't make it any less difficult, but it doesn't add to the difficulty, because the plans are already there. You're not having to think about anything because it's a really selfless act. You know, I know, my own peace of mind is I know that my wife Jeannie and my boys Zach and JJ, they'll be taken care of. If the worst that happened to me yesterday, they know my plans, it's all fully documented, and I know they'll be taken care of. And that's actually a really reassuring thing for me. So I've done what I can for my family, and that's what we're encouraging everyone else to do today.
I think we made it very clear what the importance is of an LPA, lasting power of attorney, but why should we choose the planning crowd?
We've been producing lasting powers of attorney for our clients since they were first introduced, and we were actually doing enduring powers of attorney before that, which the LPAs replaced. There was a report by the Office of the Public Guardian recently that said that 15% of LPAs that are actually registered once they'd been produced were rejected because there was an error in them.
Oh my goodness.
So it's really important to, like we said before, get someone who's qualified, who does it on a regular basis, has got that experience, and also a company that's backed by professional indemnity insurance in case anything goes wrong. So it's really important to find a provider that can do all that for you. What we also do for our clients, because one of the key reasons for rejection is that they're not signed correctly. So you can go through the entire process and think that you've done a really good thing by getting these documents in place, and then when they come to be registered, the OPG say, well, actually it's signed or dated incorrectly.
So technicality.
Absolutely. But what we do is we say to our clients, return the document to us. let us check it for you. We offer a completely free validation service. We'll make sure that when it does come to be registered, if it's needed in the future, that it will be accepted by the Office of the Public Guardian, and that's really important.
Yeah, Ian, let me ask you, in your professional opinion, why should everyone have an LPA in place?
It isn't an insurance policy, let's be clear about that, but it's the closest thing to it. I often say I plan for the worst and hope for the best. My wife Jeannie and I have both got lasting powers of attorney. We've done exactly what Helen's just described.
Yeah.
We haven't registered ours with the Office of Public Guardian yet, but they're actually in our secure facility at work, so that if they're ever needed, they can be registered and we're covered, for want of a better description. So it's always going to happen to somebody else. That curveball is always going to happen to somebody else until it happens to someone you know or to you.
Can I ask you, you use the term curveball, so can you give us some examples what a curveball might be?
Well, only this week someone in our office has been affected by a car crash.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, you don't want to dwell on these things, but people are in accidents, people do fall ill, things such as Alzheimer's, like I said before, is I don't want to call it big news, but obviously people are a lot more aware of these things now. And if you do find yourself in a situation where you have become incapacitated through illness or injury, if that document isn't there, the alternative is horrible for the family. So again, whilst I said it's not an insurance policy, I'll talk about my wife and I. Jeannie and I have got these documents ready to go, for want of a better description, in case life did throw that curveball.
Yeah.
We were incapacitated and they can be used. Of course, we both hope that they never will be, but we'd rather have them there and never use them than not have them and need them.
Yeah. So Helen, what happens if you do have a member of family that loses capacity and they haven't got an LPA? What happens?
The only option available, because of course you can only produce a lasting power of attorney while you've got that capacity. So as soon as you haven't, as soon as that event occurs and something happens, at that point the only choice your family have got is to make an application to the Court of Protection for a deputyship order. Now that is a really lengthy application process. As Ian said earlier, it could be 6, could be 9, could be 12 months. So you can imagine that you're already struggling with a family member who's lost capacity.
Yeah.
And you can't make those decisions for them. You can't access their finances to make sure they get the care that they need. You can't do anything. You have to go through this process. The application to the court, it's a really lengthy form.
Yeah.
It's got 3 text boxes where you basically have to justify why you're a suitable person to do it.
Oh my goodness.
You have to undergo a financial assessment on both yourself as a deputy and the person who's lost capacity. The fees involved are astronomical, so the application fee itself is huge, and then if you go to a hearing, you're looking at another £500. You have to undergo a medical assessment as well, excuse me, to prove that that person no longer has capacity.
Yeah.
And of course, a medical professional will probably charge you for that assessment as well.
Yeah.
So the fees are racking up.
In fact, let's just take a moment to see those fees, because we are talking the fees racking up here. The application fee, £400, assessment fee, £100, hearing fee, £500, and then the supervision fee, another £320. So right there, over £1,000. And of course, there could be way more added to that. So I guess, Ian, I'd like to know, what can we do to avoid these fees and set up an LPA today? And what do our viewers need to have ready?
They don't need to have anything ready today. They just need to have the desire to do something. So take that all-important first step and make the call, or send us the text and we'll give you a call back. But basically, you've got to do it, you know, and if you're thinking about it now, don't put it off till tomorrow, because tomorrow will become tomorrow.
Yeah,
Just make the decision, because honestly, it's a fantastic thing that you do for your family. If the lasting power of attorney is never needed, great, fantastic, you've had a great life. If your family ever did need it, they'd be very, very glad that it was there. What we just described there with the fees, I mean, they are astronomical. You know, it runs into the thousands, but it's the heartache and the pain. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
When, you know, we see it every day pretty much, where someone is having to go through this process. And of course the flip side is, and we never say this to them, but the flip side of it is, we know that had that family member spent £10 a week or whatever, to get the lasting power of attorney in place, all of this could have been avoided, and they'd just be basically able to care for him now. Instead, they're trying to care for him and they're trying to deal with everything and deal with the courts, and it's heartbreaking.
Let me just remind everyone at home how affordable this is, because it is so affordable. These are exclusive deals to us here at Ideal World. That's what we go looking for. Family and estate will, £139, but not tonight, £59. In fact, tonight just £14.75. the first of 4 payments. £80 saving. Then you've got the property and the P&A, we call it, £325. We've taken it down to £179. 4 flexi payments of £44.75 today. That's £146 saving. And then if you decide that you would like both, there are further savings to be had. So £199 in total. £49.75 is your first payment, and you can save £265. So if just remind you how easy it is to get the team to call you, and that's a matter of just sending a text. So text the word WILL, W-I-L-L, to 66777. Write that number down, 66777, and take care of it right now. Just take care of it right now so you can enjoy that peace of mind. Now let me share another testimonial with you, another customer saying how happy they are. I'm going to bring that onto the screen for you right now. Just bear with us one moment. This is from Mrs. O'Hare, who's in Helensburgh. Says, I watched the show about wills and lasting power of attorney on the Ideal World shopping channel. I had put off making a will as I expected it to be hard work and quite difficult. But after watching the show, I decided now was the time. I was pleasantly surprised as the consultation with the planning crowd was actually very simple, easy and straightforward. I would recommend anyone thinking about a will to put it off no longer and make a call to the planning crowd. I'm so glad I did. Helen, we've been talking about the LPA there. Let's go back to wills. I wonder if you can just share with us why it's so important to make a will.
Yeah, of course. I think one of the key things is people don't understand how powerful a will is and what you can do with it. Obviously, the most important thing, and what everyone assumes a will is used for, is for deciding who receives your estate when you do pass away. So that's really important. You can also decide if there's someone that you don't want to inherit. You can exclude them in your will to make sure that they don't receive anything, which is really important. You don't have that option if you don't create your own will. A will can be used to appoint guardians for your children. So nobody likes to think about, if you've got young children, that you won't be around to see them grow up. But it can sadly happen, and you need to know that you've appointed someone you trust to bring up your children if you're not able to do so. Right. Within a will, you can also stipulate what age your beneficiaries inherit, which you can't do otherwise. And you can leave family heirlooms, you can make specific gifts, you can make cash gifts to charity. All of these things, even down to dictating your funeral wishes. And Ian mentioned about arguments in families. That's one of the key things that people argue about. Oh, well, Mum would have wanted to be cremated. No, Mum would have wanted to be buried. And they fall out and they have that argument. And there's nothing there to make that decision.
And so if we don't write a will, we go to a default will?
That's absolutely right, yeah.
Should we just show that? Let me share this with you so you can see exactly what happens. This is the government default will. No executors. Children inherit at age 18. My personal will, I've put the age of 25 for my kids. Children may become a ward of court. The rules of intestacy dictate who inherits. No provision for cash gifts or heirlooms, and funeral wishes and organ donation is not catered for. So this is so important. Now, Ian, what happens if you pass away without a valid will of your own in place? What happens?
You're classed as dying intestate, which means that the rules of intestacy, pretty much what you've just gone through there, comes into play. The rules of intestacy was basically set up in 1925. It's been tweaked once ever since, and very marginally. It doesn't really reflect the makeup of families today. It's very linear, and it all revolves around your marital status. So the first question that's asked of the person that's passed away is were they married or in a civil partnership. And then depending on the answer to those questions, i.e. yes or no, ultimately takes you to the conclusion and where your estate is going to go. And when you speak to a lot of people, if we gave them the rules of intestacy in the form of a will, they would say, I don't want that. I want to do A, B and C, because there is so much more you can do with a will, and it's your choice. I don't want a set of rules from 1925 dictating what happens to everything I've worked hard for. No one's given me anything, and I want to make sure that what I've got is going to go to the people I want it to. And children's a big thing. My boys are only 8 and 6. Zach's 9 next month. But if they're anything like me, I hope they're not, but if they're anything like me, if I came into any kind of money or responsibility at 18, I was not going to be making the right decisions. Some would look at me now and argue nothing's changed. But the vast majority of parents, when we speak to parents, they don't want the children to inherit 18. Quite the opposite. You know, they want them to inherit on the 21, 23, or they want to put some form of stipulation about, well, you know, I'd want them to have some money for university, or I'd let them buy a house, all this kind of thing. None of that can be done if you don't do it yourself, which is why making a will is so important. The rules of intestacy can literally rip families apart as well.
Yeah. Well, look, can we just stay with children for a moment? And this was a big question for my wife and I. If both parents pass away, something happens, they're in an accident, whatever it may be, and there's no will in place, what happens to the kids?
As we said, if there's a will in place, you appoint guardians, so you choose who looks after your children. If there is no will in place, you're basically relying on the right person stepping forward. Now, I've seen couples have conversations about who they would want to look after their children, and it's a difficult thing enough to decide when they're both there and having that conversation and talking about it. But if there's no will, and you have several family members who step forward and say, well, they'd want me to look after the children. And again, would they have the same values? Would it mean that the children would be moved away from their school and friends?
Of course,
you just don't know. If there is that disagreement and it can't be decided upon, it comes down to the courts. So then you've got a court battle going on as well. And in the worst case scenario, you know, if the courts feel that this warring is not good for the children, they could even end up, you know, under social services care. So, I mean, that's the worst case scenario, but you just don't know. It's so easy to just lay out your wishes and make sure it's clear. It's just so simple.
I wouldn't want to leave it to chance.
No,
I wouldn't want to leave it
absolutely.
to chance, not as a parent.
Well, come on, your kids... If you've got kids, you know, and I'm sure you can make up your mind right here, right now, and it's as simple as texting a number and having the team call you back. In fact, I've got another question. This ran through my mind as well. I'm sure a lot of people probably have seen in stores or maybe on the internet, you can buy a template and you can do a will at home. Why should we go to the planning crowd instead of filling out a template?
It comes full circle to, if you're going to do a job, do it properly and use someone that's professional, qualified and insured and basically knows what they're doing. With the best will in the world, no pun intended, if you don't know how to draft a will, you can follow these templates, of course you can, but how many mistakes do we see? There's a reason that, you know, we're a country that's steeped in law, there's a reason that there are legal clauses used. It's to make sure that the will does what you want it to and make sure it doesn't fail and that it works. But there's no advice given from these templates. You know, when you speak to us, we'll hold your hand through the whole process, and maybe you'll think about things that you wouldn't necessarily have thought of unless you spoke to us. And we'll only draft a document when you're 100% happy, and that's a fully insured, fully advised document. Buy one off the shelf. Unless you are a qualified will writer, I don't know why you'd take that risk. I really don't.
It's kind of like, good luck.
Yeah, and at these exclusive prices as well, really, it's not expensive to get a professionally written will.
I'd agree.
Through this offer.
Let me take the opportunity to remind you, if you have just joined us, let's go through these exclusive deals so you can see just how affordable it is to have a will written for you. Family and estate will, £139, but not today. £59. In fact, today, only £14.75, the first of 4 payments. That's an £80 saving. And this is all about peace of mind, taking control, planning for the future, planning for the inevitable. And then we've got the PA, lasting power of attorney, £325, £179 today. That's £146 saving. £44.75 is your first of 4 payments. And if you're thinking, I want both, and I would certainly encourage you to consider both, then it's only £199, but it should be £464, so £265 that you save by that simple decision. And again, just talk to the team. Your flexi payment means tonight just £49.75. So if you'd like the team to talk to you, let them call you back. Simply text the word WILL, W-I-L-L, to 66777. Write that number down so you can do that. Do that as soon as you can. Do that tonight. Do that right now. And know that the team, they're waiting for your call. They're waiting for your call right now. 66777. Now, Helen, I mean, we just looked at those prices there. We can see these are incredible discounts. I mean, how great is this value for money?
You can't put a price on the peace of mind it brings. As Ian said earlier, we've not had anyone who's gone through the process of producing their documents and said, oh, actually, I wish I hadn't done that. Everybody gets complete peace of mind from it.
Yeah.
And you can't put a price on that. Yes, these are great offers and people should definitely take advantage and not put it off, as we spoke about earlier. They should do it today. Take that action, take that first step and speak to us. but the result of actually having those documents in place, you can't put a price on it.
Yeah, in fact, Ian, if somebody's sitting there right now going, I'm going to do this, what do they need to have ready?
Just a phone. Just a phone or an internet connection. That's all they need. You don't need to know. Some people will have already planned out in their mind what they want to happen, and that's fine. Some people won't have even thought about who they want to choose as an executor to even start and deal with the process. But that's why, again, we hold your hand through the whole process. But we can only hold your hand through the process and give you the documents if you take that first step and get in touch. Take advantage of these offers, and don't worry if you don't know anything at this stage. It's our job to help you to get to where you want to be.
In fact, let me take a moment to share with you what customers are saying about the Planning Crowd. Let me just read to you a testimonial. This one's from Mr. and Mrs. Molloy, who are in Rotherham. It said, a friend recommended us to the Planning Crowd. The consultant that dealt with our case was extremely knowledgeable and helpful. We thought it might be a bit daunting and time-consuming to sort everything out, but the Planning Crowd made the whole process very simple and straightforward. We now have the peace of mind that we've looked after each other and our 2 young daughters. Plus, through the Planning Crowd's dedicated aftercare service, we can simply update our wills as and when our circumstances change. Let's just remind you what's included with that will writing service. So you get to choose your own executors and trustees. You choose at what age your children or grandchildren inherit. You document who you want to be your guardians of your children. You decide who inherits from your estate, not the rules of intestacy. Just as importantly, you can document who you don't want to inherit. Come on, that's an important one, right? Who you don't want to inherit. You can leave specific gifts, legacies and charitable donations. You specify your funeral wishes. That would be important to many of us. And you can document your organ donation preferences. So please don't miss out on this. I started the show by saying that we're planning for the future. You know, many of us think about planning a holiday, planning time with friends, planning a weekend away, planning a wedding, but we don't think about the inevitable. We don't plan for the future. We don't plan for those times when we might become ill. And I'm talking seriously ill. And yet we see it all around us. And we still say, it won't happen to me. Oh, it won't happen to us. And then the day it does, we wish we'd sent that text message. It's as simple as a text message. And it's not just you that we're thinking of. When my wife and I took the time to write our wills, we're thinking about our kids. We're thinking about our parents. We're thinking about our best friends, our sisters, our brothers, and everyone that's left behind. If you're the one passing, you got the easy part, right? You've gone. You're just leaving the mess behind. And so this is really your way of sharing. This is where you've got the opportunity to care for your family. So those that are left in enough pain already, and now they've got the opportunity to have a little bit of that pain eased. It's never going to be easy. It's never going to be easy. I'm never going to say it'll be easy. But this will make it easier. Let me just remind you of these exclusive deals so that you can make that text tonight. Family and estate will, £139, but tonight £59. In fact, tonight only £14.75. There's an £80 saving here. It's incredible value for money. And we are talking professionals. Professionals. And this is what they dedicate their lives to helping people with. And then, of course, we've got property and affairs, lasting power of attorney. £325, but not tonight. In fact, we've taken the price down to £179, and tonight it's only £44.75. First of 4 payments. You save £146, even though we're providing you with peace of mind, a little bit of tranquility. And then, of course, if you're saying, I want to get both of these, and it makes sense to get both of these, £464, a red mark straight through that, because we take it down to £199. And in fact, it's less than £50 for your first payment, less than £50. £49.75, and you save a huge £265 for complete and utter peace of mind. It's a text message. Let me just show you the number again. Send a text, the word will, W-I-L-L, to 66777. And I did share with you at the very start of the show, my mum, I told her about this service a year ago when I was lucky enough to meet Ian. And a year has passed by, and my mum says, oh, well, I've got to do it, love, I've got to do it. Tonight she's doing it. Tonight I told her, watch the show. I get to do the show with Ian. Please watch the show, Mum. And she promised me that tonight she will do it. And maybe you've promised yourself you'll do it week after week, month after month, and maybe another year has passed by. Take the opportunity to do it. Not tomorrow, not the day after, not this week. It's a phone call. Have a chat with the team. So send that text message right now. And in fact, we've got somebody from the team, I believe it's Gareth tonight, that's at the office in Lincoln. Gareth, can you hear us?
Yes, good evening. How are you?
Great, very good, Gareth. Gareth, I wonder if you can tell us how it's going at the care centre.
Yeah, it's incredibly busy this evening. There's a lot of people taking advantage of the fantastic offers that we've got on. There's a lot of people taking advantage of the text-back system as well this evening, and we will promise to make sure that we call those back as soon as we possibly can.
I wonder if you can tell us what's maybe, well, the most popular question, if you can pick one. What's the most popular question you might be getting tonight?
Yeah, a couple of things really. We get a lot of people that are asking us about court of protection work, and we've heard some really sad stories about people that have perhaps not put documents in place soon enough. So I would urge people to put them in place to prevent the issues. But the main one is we're getting asked a lot of questions about the registration process for the document. So maybe that's the question you could sort of pose to Ian and Helen.
Gareth, I really appreciate your help. Thanks for calling in tonight. Take care.
No problem. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.
Ian, we heard a little bit there about some of the most popular questions that we're getting. I wonder if you can just go into a little more depth about those.
I think what's being asked there is probably, we talked about the Office of the Public Guardian, and we talked about validation of the documents and making sure that the Office of Public Guardian...
What exactly is that?
That's the government body that authorises the lasting power of attorney. So we help you draft it, we validate it. We also have a registration service that can help you register it as well. You can register your documents immediately, or you can choose to validate them and you can store them.
Yeah.
The Office of Public Guardian themselves may charge a fee for registration. That depends on your own personal circumstances. And as I said, it's personal preference. Some people, even though they may never need them, choose to draft them and register them. Some people choose to draft them and ask us to validate and store them.
Right.
And that's your choice. But basically, it's the Office of Public Guardian that document has to be registered with. Once it's been registered, then the attorneys can act. And that's why it's so important to do it right, because we talked earlier and Helen mentioned the statistics about rejections from the Office of Public Guardian. If you're really unlucky and you've lost capacity and you've done this document but you've done it incorrectly,
yeah,
and then it gets registered, it's devastating if it gets rejected at that point, because now you can't fix it. It's too late. And so that's when the families end up going down the court protection route, right, and spending thousands and months and months and months in
more
that
pain.
process. It's an awful time, and it's just that awful time can be alleviated by very, very simply planning ahead.
Sorry to jump in now. Helen,
okay.
I was just thinking about, we talked earlier about the LPA, the lasting power of attorney. I wonder if you could tell us about the practicalities of that.
Yeah, so it's really important to draft the document now. That's the important bit, because that's the bit that you have to do while you've got capacity to do so. So once it's drafted, you can choose to register it straight away so that it's ready to go, or you can store it safely. Like Ian said, make sure it's checked, make sure it's all signed correctly and dated.
Yeah.
That's the important bit. That's the bit that you should do now.
Yeah.
It can be registered at a later date. If it's ever needed in the future, that's the point at which you must register it.
I'm just going to take a moment to remind you of what customers are saying about the planning crowd, because they're there right now to make your life easier. That's what this is all about. It's a conversation on the phone with the team. They're in Lincoln waiting for your calls right now. This one comes from Mrs. Cole, who is from Long Newton. Said, my daughter referred me to the planning crowd to make a will. They were able to answer any questions I had, and they made the whole process very simple. If I'd had known it was that straightforward to do, I would have done it sooner. Maybe that's you at home saying, yeah, is it easy? You're hearing our customers telling you it's easy. And Mrs. Cole goes on to say, I would encourage anyone thinking of making a will to speak to the planning crowd. They were very helpful and extremely professional in their dealings with me. Helen, we've talked about the benefits of LPAs and wills tonight. I wonder if you could just tell us what happens if we haven't got these simple documents in place.
So with the lasting power of attorney, that's where you're looking at the court of protection application. If you haven't got a lasting power of attorney in place, and you do lose capacity or find yourself in circumstances where you can't make decisions for yourself, someone will have to go through that court application process.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, it's a hugely lengthy process, a difficult time, and all those costs that we talked about. With a will, if you don't produce a will, you're basically allowing your estate to be dealt with under the intestacy provisions. And it really doesn't suit everybody. I think one of the key things that people think about is you hear people talking about common law spouses, common law wife. We've been together for 20 years, we've got a house together, we've got kids together. Well, under the intestacy rules, it doesn't matter. Right. If you're not married, your partner doesn't inherit anything.
Right.
And people don't understand that. And likewise, if you are married, your spouse would only inherit the first section of your estate, not everything.
So how do we compare, like, writing our own will to the government will? What are the differences there? In fact, we've got it in writing, so let's just put that on the screen so you can really see some of the benefits of making your own will. You choose who administers your estate, whereas if you're with a government will, no executors. You get to decide at what age your children inherit, and again with the government will, they're just going to inherit 18. You might want it to be 21, 23, 25, but you wouldn't have any choice. If you've got your own will, you can select the guardians for the children, but with the government will, they may become ward of court. With your own will, you can choose the beneficiaries, and of course you can exclude people too, and that unfortunately may be important to you. The rules of intestacy dictate who inherits under the government will. Then you can leave specific gifts to people if you write your own will, but there's no provision for cash gifts or heirlooms under the government will. You know, you've lost total control here. And if you make your own will, you can document your funeral wishes and even organ donation preferences. But with a government will, the funeral wishes and organ donation is not catered for. So, Ian, what we're talking about here is incredible value for money. Incredible.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the flexi-pay option, which is only for 4 months for the will at £14.75, I was trying to rack up how much I spend on our coffee man that comes round every week, and it's astronomical. But I definitely spend that in 3 days on lattes. I need to address that. But it is, when you put it in that context, if you think about what you spend your money on and what you pay for, you know, we all pay for insurances. We have boiler insurance, house insurance, pet insurance. There's loads of things we pay a lot of money for that might not happen. Lots of people pay an inordinate amount of money just to watch TV, you know, and probably don't even get to sit down and watch the sports channel. But this is a really, really important thing. It's a hugely important thing, an incredibly valuable document. And the alternative to not having a will is, and I'm not embellishing here, can be catastrophic. Because as Helen's just explained there, partners do, unfortunately there's a lot of myth around wills, and partners think, well, we've been together and so we'll inherit. They don't.
We're kind of guessing, aren't we? Just guessing it'll be all right.
Yeah, and again, when it's too late, it's too late, and quite often they only discover at the point of need, and they think everything's going to be okay to find out it isn't. Yeah. So you're adding heartbreak on heartbreak, when for £14 a month, just for 4 months, you can take control. You said earlier that you lose control. I want to be... Sorry, I'm being attacked by a fly. I want to be in control of what I've built up and what I've worked for.
Yeah, same.
And not let it fritter away to the wrong people or the wrong places. Yeah. So it's really important to me, and I think and that definitely comes through when we speak to our clients.
And when you think you get that control, that power, the ability to say what you want for such a small price. Let me remind you of the prices, because it is phenomenal value for money. I don't know how the planning crowd do it. Family and estate will, £139, but not tonight, £59. £14.75 is your first payment, because we put it onto 4 flexi payments at 0% interest. Save £80, and that's just for your will. Now, if you'd like to go for the lasting power of attorney as well, that's £325, £179 tonight. So you've got a saving there of £146, and of course your first payment is just £44.75. And I would encourage you to really consider going for both the will and the lasting power of attorney. Then you're covered. You are covered. And it's just £199. It should be £464. So it's a £265 saving. And tonight, the first flexi, just £49.75. Call the team. Let me just remind you how to get a call back. All you've got to do is text the word WILL, W-I-L-L, to 66777. Write that down, because unfortunately we are coming to the end of the show right now, and I would encourage you to do it tonight. Not later, not in a few hours' time, not tomorrow. Do it now. Do it now. Write that number down and then do it. Do it now. 66777. Let me just share with you another testimonial, another happy customer, somebody else saying, do this. People don't sit down and write and say how great something was unless they're really, really impressed, unless they really feel that it made a difference in their lives. And that's why we have so many of these incredible testimonials for you. Let me share another one right now. This is from Mrs. Woolhams, who's in Bristol. Said, I saw the planning crowd recommended wills and lasting power of attorney documents on Ideal World. Their offers looked amazing, and so I called them during the show to take advantage of the exclusive prices. I spoke to Daisy. I love it that the customers know who they spoke to. I spoke to Daisy, who explained the whole process and took me through everything. She made me feel incredibly at ease and helped me to understand it all in simple terms. She was true to her word, and I felt supported throughout the whole process, and nothing was too much trouble. They even visited me at home to ensure that I understood the paperwork and was happy with everything. I now feel secure in the knowledge that my wishes will be carried out and my family cared for when the day comes. I highly recommend the Planning Crowd to help anyone with their estate planning needs. Come on, it doesn't get any better than that. It really is all about planning for the future, planning for the inevitable. Well, let's take a moment right now to thank the team from the Planning Crowd tonight. I really appreciate you coming in. Great that you were here tonight, and I'm sure you've helped so many people out. In fact, if I can just ask one more question. If anyone has just joined us, caught the tail end of the show, who should consider getting a will?
Everybody. There will be a reason for everyone to put a will in place. We've seen today how important it is, how powerful that document is, what an amazing thing you can do with it, and how good it is for your family that you leave behind if that will is in place. So everyone should consider it. And
here you go, here's some of the information that we've shared with you. Making your own will means that you choose your own executors and trustees. You get to choose what age your children or grandchildren inherit. All of this information, you specify your funeral wishes, you can document your organ donation preferences if you wish. So you get the power, you get the peace of mind. These are the exclusive deals. Don't miss out on it. Family and estate will, £14.75, first of 4 payments. Lasting power of attorney, just £44.75. And if you decide to go for both, an even bigger discount, £49.75 is your first payment today. So take advantage of it. Text that team right now, 66777. Just text the word WILL. Really appreciate you taking the time to share with us tonight here on Ideal World. Look forward to seeing you again in the future. And of course, a big thank you to you for watching as well. Enjoy the rest of your night.